The French Revolution by Tim, Eric, and Jake. The French Revolution was caused by several things. First off, France was an absolute monarchy, and the king could do whatever he darn well pleased. The people weren't too happy with that, and so they fought the undemocratic nature of the government. The French people also fought for freedom of speech and contested the Catholic Church and the prerogatives of nobles in France. One of the key economic causes of the French Revolution was the extremely unpopular gabelle tax, which was contracted out to tax farmers, private collectors, who were permitted to raise much more money than the government actually wanted. This led to an extremely unequal distribution of the money in France, because as you can see, they took most of the money from the peasants. Further royal taxes were collected in the form of compulsory labor. This system also excluded nobles and clergymen from having to pay taxes, except for a small quit rent. Tax burden was thus paid by peasants, the working class people, and the wage earners, who were pretty much cut off from all positions of power in the French government at this time, causing great unrest amongst the lower classes. Another cause of the French Revolution was the good old United States of America revolutionary, who had extensive contact with the French during their revolution, because the French sent over their navy to help the United States. During this contact, there were many revolutionary ideas shared, and the French got many of their ideas from the Americans. These problems were all compounded by a great scarcity of food in the 1780s. Different crop failures in the 1780s caused these shortages, which of course led to high prices for bread. Perhaps no cause more motivated the Paris mob, that was the engine of the revolution, more than the shortage of bread. Poor conditions in the countryside led farmers and peasants to all seek refuge in France and search for jobs and food there, which of course there were none. This made Paris become filled with the hungry and disaffected, so the peasants suffered doubly from economic and agricultural problems. Clearly, the French had a lot of problems, and the revolutionaries' goal was to overthrow the government. They wanted to make an aristocracy into a democracy. To assist in the revolution process, there were many important people, the first of which was Jacques-Pierre Brissot de Warville. He was the leading member of the Girondist movement. Another person was Lazare Cournot, who was a French soldier appointed by the Committee of Public Safety to help reorganize the failing war effort against Austria and Persia. Cournot did so very effectively and made enough of a name for himself to earn a seat as the first member of the Directory. He was number one. Others included Jacques Necker, who was the first person to produce a government budget for the first time in French history. Also Maximilien Robespierre, who planned out the economy and led the mobilization for war. Another person was Emmanuel Joseph Sieyès, who was a liberal member of the clergy, supporter of the Third Estate, and author of the fiery 1789 pamphlet, What is the Third Estate? He's one of the primary leaders in the Third Estate's effort at political and economic reform in France. One of the last important people in the French Revolution was King Louis XVI, who inherited a great national debt from his grandfather, King Louis XV, and added to this national debt through his involvement in the American Revolution. Because this national debt overwhelmed all of his financial sultans, King Louis XVI was forced to give in to the demands of the Parliament of Paris and convene the Estates General, an action that led directly to the outbreak of the Revolution. King Louis XVI was deposed in 1792 and was executed a year later. After all that, the French people finally got their way and had a good outcome. The outcome was that the French people finally overthrew the aristocracy and took control. The revolution effectively swept away most of the nobility and the monarchy. The French Revolution may have been bloody and violent, but in the end it changed the economical, political, and social structure of France forever. Overall, the revolution was successful because of new traditions from the Enlightenment, a new economy based on personal possession instead of hereditary possessions, and it was also successful in making a monarchy into a democracy.